Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by Resolution 269-2013, setting the 2014 meeting dates, sending a copy to the record and the Jewish Standard, filing a copy in the Township Clerk's office, and posting it on the Municipal Building Bulletin Board, and the Mayor hereby directs that this statement be included in the minutes.
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's meeting. Tonight we also have with us our Township Manager, William Broughton, our Township Clerk, Jamie Avelina, the Executive Assistant to the Manager, Issa Bassi, and our Senior Clerk, Colleen Hennigan. We also have with us our Township Attorney, Stanley Turritz. The next televised council meeting will take place on Tuesday, June 10, 2014, with legal opening to begin at 7 p.m. and public input to begin at 8 p.m. The Memorial Day commemoration will be held on Monday, May 26, 2014, beginning at 11 a.m. Ceremonies will begin at 11 a.m. on the Municipal Green. Dr. Pruitt will be representing the council. Teaneck Cedar Lane Family Festival will take place on Monday, May 26, 2014, from 12 p.m. until 6 p.m., rain or shine. The council just met in closed session to discuss litigation matters and interviews. The municipal building will be closed on Monday, May 26, 2014, in observance of Memorial Day. First item on tonight's agenda is a presentation honoring our ambulance corps. Mark, would you like to join me off the dais? So many of you know that in Teaneck we have an all-volunteer ambulance corps, and when they do great things, we acknowledge their service selflessly to our community. I can speak personally that if some people don't know, my second child was born during Sandy, and if not for the Teaneck Volunteer Ambulance Corps itching down East Cedar Lane to my home, I think I was going to have to boil water. So I'm very grateful to the Volunteer Ambulance Corps, and we're lucky to have a lifetime member, Mark Schwartz, on the council, who can speak to their work and their selfless sacrifice for the Township of Teaneck. Let's give them a round of applause.
Mark Schwartz. I'm not a lifetime member, but a 12-year member of the Ambulance Corps. Before I turn over to Angela Wilkerson to discuss the recipient, I just wanted to thank Akiva Padel, who will be calling up in a second. I want to thank our Ambulance Corps. I look at our Ambulance Corps as a training grounds. It's a training grounds that teaches not just emergency management, not just civic mindedness, maturity. It teaches everything that enables our citizens to go on and take what they've learned to the next level. Angela probably knows how many countless doctors we've trained, how many lawyers, everyone that learned something on the Ambulance Corps. Myself, I learned how to. I learned a lot, but I'm definitely not a doctor, and I do know my CPR expires in 2 weeks. That being said, I wanted to thank the Ambulance Corps for everything they do. There is nothing harder in life to wake up in a cold winter morning at 2 o'clock in the morning to go to that same residence that you know you were just there the night before. But it's something they do. They do it over and over again, thousands upon thousands of calls, over 4,000 calls every single year. It's an all-volunteer. There is no pay. There is no compensation, and we obviously the township and the neighboring townships have our gratitude. Angela.
Thank you. In addition to being a lifetime member myself, Ellie Wykat, who's sitting on the council, he's also a lifetime member, so we couldn't do what we do without him either, him and Mark. So give them a round of applause as well. He taught me everything I know about driving, by the way. So first we would like to call up Akiva Pudel. And Akiva is receiving the CPR save. He was in Florida running a half marathon and heard that someone was man down or something along those lines, someone said. And of course, like a superhero, like Akiva is, he jumped into action and ran over and began the protocol for CPR and transferred care over to the paramedics when they arrived and continued on and finished the marathon. So that is why he's receiving the award. Okay, everyone else I'm about to call up, they're receiving they're receiving these awards because they're receiving these awards because they too went above and beyond, and they had a positive outcome with doing CPR. For those that don't know, doing CPR is very strenuous and it's tiring and exhausting. I just did it last night, so, and one of the other members, I don't know if he's here yet, Naftali, we did it last night, as well as a couple of more, and it is exhausting, but we do it, and we try to do it to the best of our ability, and it's not always a positive outcome, but when it is, we do want to acknowledge that. So I'm just going to call all of them up, and if they could just stand up here with their awards, and then they're going to receive pins, and I'll read the first certificate as well. The Teaneck Township Council extends heartfelt congratulations and presents this CPR Save Award to Perry DeFranco from the Teaneck Volunteer Ambulance Corps for going above and beyond in the call of duty. Former mayor on the town council, lifetime member, former president, former captain, lieutenant, you name it, he's done it. Fundraising chair extraordinaire, Kiwi Fight. Josh Gilden, who I would just also like to say congratulations, Mazel Tov. He was recently married a couple of weeks ago to the beautiful Connie Gilden now. She's here. Jacqueline Gordon. She's here. Oh. And Jacqueline actually just got engaged about 2 weeks ago to one of our members, Andrew Rosler. So congratulations to them as well. Not only do we save lives, we also lifelong marriages and so forth and so on. Izzy Franco, I'm sorry. Izzy Enfield. Lieutenant Izzy Enfield, my apologies for that. Benjamin Rosen. And Benjamin and his two brothers, it's also a family affair because Benjamin is there with two of his brothers as well, Daniel and Ruvain, which I think Ruvain is here. Daniel is away at med school. Melanie Rubio. Melanie Rubio is also a lieutenant at the ambulance corps, and you'll be hearing from her a little bit later as well. Ben Rosler. Ben Rosler is the father-in-law-to-be to Jacqueline, so. See, it's a family affair, I told you. And he is awesomely terrific as well. There you go. Congratulations. Danny Center. Is he here? No. Danny Center is past president and Rabbi Center right here in town, but he's also, I don't know if you've ever seen it, he's also the beekeeper for the town, so he's probably somewhere saving bees. He's been doing that a lot lately. And although not present, I just want to acknowledge them. They had something that came up this evening. I don't see them, so if they are here, then they can come up. Natan Safran. He also is receiving a CPR save, as well as Malcolm Cooper. Okay. So, congratulations to all the CPR save recipients. Thank you for bearing with me. This has been a long time coming. My apologies. There's so much going on, and Jamie and I trying to coincide a meeting so we could get it all done. Next, we're going to do the Meritorious Service Awards, and this is for anyone who goes above and beyond in the line of duty. not just CPR, but under extenuating circumstances, that they did an outstanding job. So we acknowledge that as well as the council. So again, Lieutenant Perry DeFranco. Basically, I guess if you're going to get sick and you need an emergency, you want Perry there, because he is the magic touch, I don't know. Joseph Harris. Joseph Harris is just absolutely amazing. Not only does he save people right here in town, he does it in New York as well. He's worked on Spider-Man and saved a Spider-Man or two when he was working. Izzy Enfield, Lieutenant Enfield, who's just all around terrifically wonderful. And although not here, Andy Rudin. And they're, in addition to receiving this, and I'll call her up as well, Melanie Idler, oh my God, my apologies, Melanie Rubio, I don't even know why I have Melanie Idler in my mind. Melanie Rubio, totally, absolutely amazing, is receiving the Valor Award, and this is something that's very important, and I'm so sorry. It's very important, and my apologies for that. She's absolutely wonderful, and Melanie's receiving this award along with Izzy and Perry, and Andy's not here because they had a call that required Melanie to be in a car with a patient for over an hour while he had to be cut out of it. The jaws of life were used and so forth and so on, and she maintained patient care. She talked to him and so forth and so on. And it was, I won't say dangerous situation, but it was definitely above and beyond what we do on a daily basis. And we definitely want to acknowledge her and thank her for that, because we couldn't have done that. And, you know, she couldn't have been there. If she wasn't there, then, you know, we're just happy that she was there. Good? We've been up to a lot of good this year, I think. No, not yet. Okay. And if I would like to call Joseph Harris up for, he and, although not present, Larry Robertson delivered a beautiful bouncing baby girl in the field, and that is something we also would acknowledge. So for all those moms out there, you know, it's not easy to do in the hospital, so these guys did it. Were you guys in a van? Was it a van or a truck? Yeah, backseat of a minivan, so awesome. And last but not least, I hope, yes, okay. We want to acknowledge there are 3 members that are receiving their Lifetime Achievement Awards, and being a lifetime member of the Ambulance Corps, you will have had to have served 10 consecutive years or 15 years, with including leaves and so forth and so on. So with thousands of calls combined, we want to acknowledge and give them their Life Membership Award to Naftali Levenbrown, there we go. To lifetime member Ari Lifshitz. There you go. And although not here because he is in his EMT class getting recertified, Andy Rudin, who's our current president. Our past president, Andy Rudin, is our current president this year, so, and former captain. Thank you. Just Mohammed's going to speak lastly.
We just have the Teaneck Township Council extends heartfelt thank you to the Teaneck Volunteer Ambulance Corps on the occasion of celebrating EMS Week and for 40 years of dedicated service to the Township of Teaneck. Give them a round of applause, please. Henry? We have one more presentation honoring one of our residents tonight. Henry Pruitt, Dr. Pruitt is going to be coming off the council, the dais to read the proclamation that we have for Chuck Stewart. Chuck Stewart is one of our township residents who is an acclaimed photographer that has been recognized by the Smithsonian, by the Schomburg, all over the world, and we're very lucky to have him. Hopefully, Dr. Pruitt will be coming out shortly. And they let him through.
Can we bring Chuck Stewart up with his family? And all those people who are outside in the hall or inside the room who are standing for Chuck Stewart, please stand up so we know where you are. Come on in. We'll crowd the room for a few minutes. Come on in, Kim, and the rest of the folks. If the Chuck Stewart stand up, then we will know. We can't count everybody out there, but we'll say most of them. Okay, we got it. Did we get everybody inside? Let's see if Channel 4 can capture this. Proclamation. Whereas Chuck Stewart is recognized as the premier photographer of jazz musicians in the United States of America, whereas Mr. Stewart attended Ohio University as a photography major, whereas Chuck Stewart was recognized in 1999 by the Schomburg Center as one of the outstanding black New York photographers of the 20th century, whereas Mr. Stewart is well known for his cover photographs on as many as 2,000 albums, featuring such jazz performers as Louis Armstrong, Count Basie, John Coltrane, Ella Fitzgerald, Miles Davis, Lionel Hampton, Charles Mingus, Max Roach, Sonny Rollins, Sarah Vaughan, and Dinah Washington. And whereas Chuck Stewart photographs appeared in such magazines as Esquire, Paris Match, the Encyclopedia of Jazz, as well as the New York Times. Whereas Mr. Stewart worked photographically with numerous record companies, including Impact, Mercury, Reprise, and Chess Records. And whereas Chuck Stewart received the Milt Hinton Award for Excellence in Jazz Photography in 2008, and whereas Mr. Stewart was recognized by Jazz at Lincoln Center in New York and presented an exhibition titled Looking at the Music, the Jazz Photography of Chuck Stewart, which ran from November 2008 through February 2009. And whereas Chuck Stewart was recognized on March 26, 2014 by the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History at its 13th annual Jazz Appreciation Month celebration. And whereas Mr. Stewart has been a resident of the Township of Teaneck on Voorhees Street, I had to put that in there. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Township Council of the Township of Teaneck, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, hereby recognize Mr. Chuck Stewart as one of the community's most outstanding residents. Let's have it. Go.
Oh. Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to say something. I'm unaccustomed to being in front of the camera. I'm accustomed to being behind the camera. So if I don't have too much to say, please forgive me. But thank you very much.
Just a quick advertisement. On the last Saturday in July, on Voorhees Street, we have a street party, and Chuck makes the best apple cobbler you ever had in your life. That's it. Peach. I got the wrong fruit. Peach cobbler.
I don't know if they want me. Good, it's up. Careful of that step right there.
I'm sitting right here in front of you.
King, there's no way. How did you get it?
If everybody could please take their seats and quiet down. Next item on our agenda is public hearing and adoptions of ordinances. Jamie, can you read the ordinances that we're going to be adopting tonight, please?
Ordinance number 9-2014, an ordinance amending Section 36-11.2 of Division 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 36 entitled Traffic of the Township Code, adding restricted on-street parking spaces for handicapped on a portion of Fairview Avenue. Ordinance number 10-2014, an ordinance amending Section 33-32, Special Improvement District, and Section 33-33, Downtown Business Improvement Zone of Chapter 33, Development Regulations of the Code of the Township of Teaneck to amend the boundaries of the Cedar Lane Special Improvement District and the Downtown Business Improvement Zone, and to exempt residential properties located therein from annual assessments.
Thank you. Any members of the public like to comment on ordinance number 9-2014, 10-2014? Seeing no hands, the hearing is... Oh, Dr. Rasheen, I'm sorry.
Dr. Alex Rasheen, Teaneck. We have here quite a number of ordinances, and some of them authorize, for example, resurfacing of the just roads and all that to the amount of $2 million.
This is on ordinance number 9-2014, this hearing, and 10-2014, not the introductions. This is for the hearing for these two ordinances.
Okay,
The adoption ordinances on the first page.
Ordinance, this one? Okay. All right, sorry, then if it's the others will be on good welfare?
Yeah, good and welfare.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment on... you guys want to comment on these ordinances or just waving? Are you calling somebody? Okay. Seeing no other hands, on ordinance 9-2014 and 10-2014?
I don't know which ordinance for the assessment.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
My name is Greg Andrews. I'm on a building on Cedar Lane. And, these assessments, our taxes, my insurance went up $4,000. You want to get another 3%, and the question is, these tenants, they're doing nails, they're doing hair, coffees. I mean, how much do they have to do to make up for that assessment? I mean, I think it's really getting out of hand. I think it has to be done a different way. We just can't keep on adding taxes upon taxes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Anyone else like to comment on these two ordinances? No? Seeing no other hands, the hearing is now closed. Someone like to make a motion and move ordinance 9-2014 and... I'm sorry. I'll reopen the hearing. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I am before the board tonight because my husband had put in a petition for a private or a handicap space in front of our residence. It was brought up to Mr. Broughton, and we were told that it was to be voted on tonight.
Oh. What's the address, ma'am?
113 Fairview Avenue.
113 Fairview Avenue. Yeah, it's the first ordinance. That's what we're voting on that tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. The hearing is now closed. Somebody like to move ordinance number 9-2014 and 10-2014? Do we have a second? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Stern?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yeah.
Councilmember Katz?
Yes.
Councilmember Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Next item on tonight's agenda is good and welfare, and there's going to be a lot of people here talking about a lot of things. So I ask everybody to be patient. We're going to listen to everybody. There are resolutions that the council will be introducing right now. The attorney is going to be reading them into the record. Our first resolution, 11, if you listen to it carefully, it's a resolution crafted in support of our children. That the incidents that happened at Teaneck High School last week, 2 weeks ago, regarding that this incident does not stay on their permanent record and cause lasting damage. The second resolution that they're going to be reading is the withdrawal of the lawsuit, Castle versus Stone, and then the last resolution that they're going to be reading in is a liquor license. So if we could just put them out, Jamie. Go ahead, read Resolution 11, Stanley.
Resolution 11. Whereas what started allegedly as a senior year prank at the Teaneck High School has resulted in an investigation by the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office against many of those involved, and whereas although the Township Council does not have legal jurisdiction over this matter, the Township Council is gravely concerned that this matter be appropriately handled by those entities that do have such legal jurisdiction, namely the Board of Education, the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office, and the judicial system. And whereas the Township Council urges all persons involved in this matter to await the outcome of the Bergen County Prosecutor's initial determination, and further urges that the prosecutor bear in mind that while the students involved have made a significant misjudgment, we would hope they should not have to bear the stigma of a criminal prosecution for life due to a youthful transgression. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Council that it urges the Bergen County Prosecutor and ultimately any legal body which ultimately has jurisdiction over this matter to impose an appropriate disposition against all the perpetrators who may be guilty of an offense, but not a criminal penalty which will stigmatize or negatively affect any of the perpetrators in their future endeavors. And be it further resolved that the Township Council believes that the Teaneck Municipal Court is the court which has the appropriate jurisdiction to deal with the offenses of this type and is the body which has the greatest flexibility to craft the appropriate dispositions within the goals and objectives of this resolution.
Thank you. Resolution 12. Resolution 12, please.
Resolution 12, a resolution authorizing dismissal of the complaint and counter-complaint in Jason Castle and Alan Sohn versus Jamie Evelina, RMC, et al. Whereas Castle and Sohn filed a verified complaint and order show cause in the Superior Court of New Jersey, docket number BERL 3617-14 on April 17, 2014, against Jamie Evelina, RMC, individually, and his clerk of the Township of Teaneck, Mohammed Hamaduddin, Adam Gussin, Yitz Stern, Ellie Y. Katz, and Mark J. Schwartz, individually, and as members of the Teaneck Township Council, William Broughton, individually, and as the Teaneck Township Manager, and the Township of Teaneck, alleging a failure to timely respond to their OPRA requests. And whereas, in response to the filing of the foregoing lawsuits, the Township attorneys, pursuant to their duties to defend the Township of Teaneck and its officer and employees, pursuant to Code Section 2-34 of the Code of the Township of Teaneck, have filed an answer to the verified complaint containing a counterclaim for special service charge pursuant to NJSA 47:1A 5(c), based on the extraordinary expenditure of time and effort and the disruption to the operation of the Township of Teaneck in responding to Castle and Sohn's OPRA request and a responding brief and certifications in support thereof. And whereas, as a result of Castle and Sohn naming Jamie Evelina, Mohammed Hamaduddin, Adam Gussin, Yitz Stern, Ellie White Katz, Mark Schwartz, and William Broughton as defendants in their individual capacities, in addition to their official capacities, it was necessary for the Township Council to authorize retaining independent counsel to represent said named defendants in their individual capacities at an additional cost to the Township. And whereas the attorneys for the individual defendants forwarded to Castle and Sohn a frivolous complaint letter demanding that the suits against the individuals be withdrawn or the individuals will seek counsel fees. And whereas following submission of the responding pleadings on behalf of the township, the named defendants, Castle and Sohn requested through their attorney that the township and the named defendants consent to the withdrawal of Castle and Sohn's complaint and the township's counter-complaint with prejudice and without cause. And whereas, notwithstanding the belief that the foregoing lawsuit was unjustified, the Township Council finds that it would be in the best interest of the citizens of the Township of Teaneck to consent to the withdrawal of Castle and Sohn's complaint and the Township's counterclaim in order to avoid the needless expenditure of additional taxpayer dollars in defending such suit. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Teaneck that consent is hereby given to the withdrawal and dismissal of the verified complaint filed by Jason Castle and Alan Sohn against Jamie Evelina, RMC, individually, and as clerk of the Township of Teaneck, Mohammed Habadudin, Adam Gus and Yid Stern, Ellie Y. Katz, and Mark J. Schwartz individually, and members of the Township Teaneck Council, William Broughton individually, and as the Township Teaneck Manager, the Township of Teaneck, docket number BERL 3617-14, and the counterclaim filed on behalf of the Township of Teaneck in response thereto with prejudice and without cause. And it further be resolved that the Township attorneys are hereby authorized and directed to sign and file a stipulation of withdrawal and dismissal of foregoing matters with prejudice and without cause of a form approved by the Township attorneys on behalf of the Township or the named defendants acting within their official capacities, subject to the signing thereof by the attorneys before the plaintiffs, the attorneys representing Jamie Evelina in her individual capacity, and the attorney representing the other defendants in their individual capacity.
Thank you. Jamie, Resolution 13.
Resolution 13, be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Teaneck that municipal consent is hereby authorized for the person-to-person transfer of plenary retail consumption liquor license number 0260-33 027-003 from ETD Incorporated, doing business as Vinny O's, to Teaneck Doghouse LLC for the premises situated at 1413-1415 Palisades Avenue, as the Township Clerk is in receipt of all required documentation and fees from the applicant, as well as the findings from the Teaneck Police Department pursuant to state law and the Township Code.
Thank you. This is where anybody can speak on any matters that they would like. I just want to go over some things, is that everybody gets 5 minutes to speak. We don't have a back and forth. At the end of Good and Welfare, when we close, we'll answer all your questions at that time. I'm just going to make a few brief statements about what the council is doing with regards to the situation that happened at the high school. One was we're going to be passing the resolution that we just read into the record. The second thing, that there's been a lot of allegations with the way the police conduct themselves. I think that we need to understand that we do have an accredited police department. That in my time as a council member and as a mayor, I've never had any reason to believe that there were false charges filed by the police department. That being said, we still have conflicting reports of what has happened that night. Two extreme differences of the situations of what happened that night. And so we have a civilian complaint review board, which I think that it's imperative that we're going to be accepting applications for, that people put in their applications. There's 5 seats available. But this civilian complaint review board, as long as this investigation is going on, will not be able to investigate this. So I want people to understand that just similar, we have a situation where we have 2 different narratives of what's going on. And, we had a bridge that was closed by someone in September, and we didn't know what happened until January. And it's now May, and that investigation is still going on. And I want everybody to be patient that what this council and the next council is going to be committed to is making sure that the truth that comes out, and any improprieties by anyone on the council, in the police department or wherever, those people be held accountable. But we're all uniformly in agreement that the children that the 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds that went to the high school that night to play what is alleged as a prank, this shouldn't follow them for the rest of their lives. That this is not something that warrants punishment that's going to follow them for the rest of their life. So if they go to work on Wall Street, they have to check out that box that says I was arrested. So we're hoping for that outcome and that the right things happen. That being said, this is now open for Good and Welfare. Rabbi Zierler.
I'm Rabbi Lawrence Zierler of the Jewish Center of Teaneck, as well as the president of the Clergy Council. I want to, first of all, recognize the teachers are here today who teach our children, including my own daughter, at the high school, and in all of the other levels of education. I would like to say that it's a threefold blessing, from the primary to the middle school to the high school. All of you deserve our recognition and our appreciation for your selfless giving to our children. I want to move to this issue, beyond this, to the issue of what has been alluded to and spoken of by the mayor, and have, of course, has been dealt with in the resolution, sort of as an article of spirit. The Clergy Council logo is an interlocking logo with hands that are locked together, and our motto is advancing understanding through difference. This advancing understanding through difference, I think, is the strong suit of the Teaneck community, in that we have so many different people who live in this community. We like to celebrate our diversity, and I have to tell you, the diversity becomes writ large and ever so apparent when we look at our children. This is an unusual situation for me. Perhaps I'm different than some of my colleagues. I'm an Orthodox rabbi, but who's had the good fortune of educating a child in the Teaneck High School. My daughter was not part of what took place, but that does not mean that I still should not and cannot care, because we have a Jewish expression that all are responsible for each other, and therefore I am here because I am a concerned citizen and a concerned leader of this community. These students, many of whom come from different backgrounds in terms of orientation and in terms of nationality and religion, have sat at my Sabbath table. I know so many of them. They are good students. You can say a prank is something which is off the charts, but at the same time, there has been precedent for it. The times have changed, and of course, we have to recognize that things are not the same. It used to be at hazing in fraternity houses. We've learned our lesson, and I think we're learning our lesson with regards to the pranks. It's not necessarily what should happen. And if it happened in the past, well, those were different times. All of us will look back at what we did in our lives and know that we all made errors of judgment, but it was a much more forgiving world. But I have to say about zero tolerance, that it has been said before that zero tolerance is the philosophy of idiots and fools. We do not walk on water. We do not walk on velvet. Life is played out in real time, and what we are judged on ultimately is how we recover, how we get up the next day. A great Rabbi Abraham Isaac Cook, once said, "If I did not fall, I would not be able to get up." Resilience is a lesson of life. It is perhaps the most important thing for us to be able to recognize in life. And if what we do in the end is deny our students the right way to learn from this experience, if we over-penalize them, if we act with too heavy a hand, what we will do is drive not only a wedge in this community, but we will send away our potential. We will preclude possibilities for these people who are our future, who are good individuals, who made an honest mistake. And I have to say that when you hear about the conflicting reports, there are a lot of outstanding questions. If the school board is standing by one story, and if the police are standing by another, then there's got to be something that is amiss. And I have to tell you, and I said it at the school board meeting, but I'm going to repeat it again. I went into 7-Eleven on the Friday after the event took place and overheard a police officer saying, "I hope that there is a place in jail for graduation to take place." Now there is a report, there's an investigation now, they have identified the officer. But if that's the attitude, in earshot, if that's the attitude, if that's how one policeman is speaking without discretion, I'm worried about what some others might have been doing. I'm also worried about those who were sitting in the car, about the officer that might have been sitting in the car and who watched it take place. In legal terms, and Mr. Turret's back me up if I'm wrong, there is something known as an inviting menace. And if you can get into a scrapyard and you hurt yourself on a wreck of a car, the person whose fence you hopped, because it was possible for you to get into that yard, that person is responsible. And if in fact our policemen, or if by some other means...
Rabbi, your 5 minutes is up. Thank you. Thank you. can't give everybody more time. So.
Okay, I've said, I think, enough to be able to give a sense of where I think this should go, and we hope with Godspeed this will be resolved favorably.
Howard.
Good evening. My name is Howard Rose, and I am not speaking as a member of either the Planning Board nor the Board of Education, each of which I am a member. I'm speaking as a resident, as a business owner, as a community volunteer. Several items. First of all, I want to congratulate, after this election, the incumbents, Lizette Parker and Ellie Katz. I want to congratulate the challengers, Jason Castle and Alan Sohn, and I want to thank for their years of service Adam Gusson and Yitz Stern. The incident at the high school, it's a very serious situation. I'm concerned when I hear people referring to the students as kids. Legally, some of them are juveniles. Legally, some of them have reached their majority and they're adults. Nevertheless, there are children. With that in mind, I want to thank the council and Mr. Turitz for crafting the proclamation, which I think hits many of the salient points and is what I think is in the best interest both of our students as well as our residents, and I guess thirdly, our town as a whole. Other topics. I'm a little dismayed to see that our budget seems to be near the bottom of tonight's agenda. I hope that's not because that's the priority that you're giving to it. We have an annual financial report that is way late. We have a budget that is way late. I've mentioned this kind of a topic on other situations where, as a resident, I pay taxes for my household. When I'm not timely, there are repercussions. If I were 3 months late in paying my taxes, I'd be paying a substantial penalty. What penalty is incurred when council, its administration, does not meet its responsibilities? And when those responsibilities are not met, and we'll talk about this, I guess, a little later regarding the ordinances that are being proposed for bonding. You don't have an annual report, you don't have a budget, and you're bonding money. No bonding should be done for this township whatsoever until your financial information is completely in order. Thank you.
I'd just like to apologize that we do have Councilman-elect Jason Castle here. I'd like to recognize him. And we also have Councilman-elect Alan Stone here that I'd like to recognize both of them. Sir, in the back.
Thanks. I'm David Bland. I live on Cumberland Avenue, and I'm the father of one of the Teaneck High students. And I would like to comment. First, I want to thank the council for their resolution of support, and I want to thank the mayor for his remarks about the investigation. I have full confidence that the facts will come out, and I'm resigned to the fact that it will take a long time for that to happen. I appreciate that you made those remarks. Thank you. That said, I want to make 3 points. First, I do think someone needs to say that at least this parent has no problem with the massive police call-out that was done that night. I give them the benefit of the doubt on that issue. They don't know the police didn't know what they were dealing with. We live in an insane world with people with guns all over, even bombs, and I would recognize the fact that they didn't know what they had to deal with and they had to protect themselves as well as the school property. So I don't have any problem with that. I know a lot of other people do. That said, I have a big problem with the later actions by the acting chief. Instead of arresting them, once they figured out who these kids were, that they were Teaneck High kids doing a prank, and I don't think it would have taken long to figure that out. They should have put them into the auditorium and waited for the administration to get there, and then collectively and jointly figured out what to do with them, not arrest them and charge them with burglary. Secondly, I don't know when the decision will be made on who will become the permanent chief of police. I don't know if that is a date that's settled, but I certainly hope that that decision will not be made before the facts come out, and that once the facts do come out, that that decision be made appropriately. Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Barbara Toffler, Teaneck. I have two issues I want to talk about, and the first is the way I viewed what happened with the students and the police is that we had two groups that have every reason to be very angry at actions that have been taken against them. These students were the first freshman class after the $6.1 million was cut, and these police have had their number of police officers cut and the refusal to get them any new cars despite the age of the cars that exist. So they were angry people. I want to, and some people may not be happy, but I want to share an experience. When I was in my 30s and I was a doctoral student at Yale, our small administrative science department was about to be taken over by the new School of Management, and our building and our offices were going to be turned over to them, and we were being sent to off-campus offices. On the night before this change was to take place, several of us doctoral students gathered to say goodbye to our office, and we were angry. I was 35 years old. I was the mother of 3 children, married to a physician then at the time. I and my colleagues ran through 55 Hillhouse Avenue in New Haven, Connecticut. We took out our keys and we scratched walls. We turned over wastebaskets. We turned over desk chairs. We wrote obscenities on we had blackboards in those days. We wrote obscenities on the blackboard. We behaved in an appalling way, but we were very angry, and we somehow just lost control. Thank heavens, we were certainly chastised. We were told how disappointed everybody was in us. But fortunately, at the end of our careers now, we number among the people running through that school 2 prominent University Business School deans, professors at Harvard, that was me, professors at UCLA, at University of Chicago, at Yale, and at a number of places, and among our group is a recipient of a MacArthur Genius Award. Thank God that somebody didn't decide to ruin our careers, because it would have been disastrous. And so obviously you know where my feelings lie in this. Things like that happen, and when there's a lot going on, they will. I now want to just congratulate the winners on Tuesday night, but I particularly have special admiration and just admiration for the 2 winners, the 2 challengers, Jason Castle and Alan Sohn, and their wives, Tara Castle and Barbara Sohn. They stepped up and displayed courage that no one in this town has been willing to display for a very long time. They knew that they and their families could be denigrated, that terrible things could be said for them and said about them, and some were. But they decided that one Teaneck, the bringing together of multiple communities by an African American and an Orthodox Jew, who have become the strongest of friends and an amazing contribution to the council. I am just so appreciative and so admire these 2 couples for everything you've done, Alan and Barbara, Jason and Tara, thank you. It has been a great week for Courage in Teaneck, honoring the 7 people who voted on the Board of Education to desegregate the schools 50 years ago, and then these 2 winners and all the people who had the courage to vote for the 2 of them. Thank you.
the back, yes, you. Yes. Sir, yes, yep.
My name is Ken Shore. I've been in the Teaneck Community Garden. I've had a plot for 16 years, and you know that it's undergoing a multi-year renovation to make it look much better. But we've not been able to put up perimeter fences around our garden, according to Mr. Broughton. Now, a chain link fence was put in about a year ago in front to protect it from pests, but that has not worked. Deer are coming in low spots, rabbits are squeezing in under the fence, and a groundhog has established itself. I brought this to Mr. Broughton's attention about 7 months ago, and nothing was done. And now we have a planting season upon us. I've already lost one plant, and today Mr. Broughton was down there, I understand, and still refuses to let us put up individual fences around our plots. I would be very happy not to have one if that chain link perimeter fence was fixed properly or some measures were taken to protect us. I've gone to the expense of soil amendments and plants and a lot of hard, sweaty work. And I'd like to be able to enjoy my produce this summer. I would like to either see that chain link perimeter fence really reinforced so that it works properly, or have Mr. Broughton relent and let us put in individual fences around our garden plots. Thank you.
Thank you. Javon?
Good evening, Council. Javon Mice, Teaneck resident. I too would like to congratulate the winners of the recent election, Lizette Parker, who I know has dedicated the last 8 years, and I'm sure will continue to serve the community well, as well as the newcomers, Jason and Alan. I'd just like to speak on behalf of thanking you, the council, for the resolution that you have put forth, and in addition to that, would look forward with the new residents of the council to continue dialogue and a better relationship with the governing bodies in the town council and the school board. As you know, I believe that there had been opportunities and attempts for a continuous dialogue. And with that being said, I think that that would afford better opportunities for the people under your jurisdiction, for instance, our police and fire, to have better relationships with our community schools and with the residents. I believe that there's lots of opportunities for the policemen to get to know our students in a better way. I realize that they are required to live here just for a short period of time, but I think that if there was a dialogue, if there's opportunities, there was a panel discussion at some point in time, I think that community policing is needed so that they do understand that these students are good students, that they're good people in our community, and that obviously they are very well supported by their community. Again, I thank you for the resolution, look forward to the outcome, and look forward to continued dialogue with the prosecutor in the event that the outcome is not favorable. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Art Vatsky?
Art Batsky, Teaneck. I really have enjoyed the prior speakers. And Ms. Rice made a good point about the police. I've often wondered in a town of 39,000 people that our police are never, or I shouldn't say never, are barely ever outside their police cars, except when they're on a call. You don't want to talk to a police officer when he's on a call. I don't want to interfere with anything that's going on. I think we need some portion of our police or some portion of a police shift where our officers are on foot so they can get a chance to meet our youth and a chance to see who lives on what block. When you're in a car, you lose that capability. And I'm not saying leave the car 3 blocks away. I'm just saying if you want to have community police, we should make an effort to have our police in the community, not on special events, but in good weather and bad, on their feet, seeing eye to eye the people who they serve. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Chuck Powers?
Chuck Powers, Teaneck. No one has seen this budget that you folks are very late about. I marvel at the fact that only Councilman Pruitt acknowledged the fact at the last meeting that you folks were really late. You are 100 days late in getting your annual financial statement, your closing of this prior year. That's due by February 10th, and you are in violation of that law, and you will pay a penalty for the 90 days after the first 10 days that you're late on it. And you are decisively late, illegally late, in getting your budget out. Last year, 3 times in February and March, your council told you precisely that you were late. You were running into very complicated situations, and you must, in fact, act. Else you might actually have the potential to have the state move in and take over the finances. That's unlikely to happen, but it doesn't mean that your lawlessness is justified, and this town deserves an explanation of what in the world you were doing instead of coming forward. I am ashamed to say that Councilman Schwartz tried to work out with the township auditor a way of trying to get past the election before you moved on the budget. You can go to Teaneck Transparency, which I urge you all to do, where you can look at most of the key issues that are live in this town in 10-minute bites, usually with your council talking about them now. Teaneck Transparency, where you will find out what it is that this township has and has not been doing, particularly in relationship to this budget. Now, having said all that about the budget, let me say one other thing. There is one department in this township that must be expanded. You have a completely inadequately staffed purchasing department. And one of the reasons you've had such disastrous results in 3 of your most recent bidding processes is because you have one purchasing officer and a staff person trying to staff that, and they know they're short. And when I actually asked that question on November 3rd of the purchasing officer, why in the world did you end up with one bid on something that is a commodity there should have been hundreds of bids for? He said because it was a rush job. I have the exact quote. Look on Teaneck Transparency to see what he said. This township needs to think hard about where it should be putting its resources so it can begin to start saving money instead of talking about how the citizens never tell it where to cut on services. There are ways for this township to function infinitely more effectively, and I certainly hope the new council will allow us to see what that is. Meanwhile, I do not believe you folks actually have appointed somebody to defend you in the largest single suit you really have, which is the $5 to $7 million related to the Sanzeri tax appeal. That is a huge question. You have ignored that since the 16th of January, when again Councilman Pruitt pressed the township council to try to figure out what in the world was going on with that, and he said it was important to do that. I don't know what you're doing, folks. You are exposing this township to huge losses, and you're lawlessly ignoring what it is that you must do to carry out the financial responsibilities, which are your primary responsibilities. And I think an investigation of why you didn't get there is well in order. As Mr. Pruitt said, we have to own it. But who is it that's going to own it? Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Dr. Rasheen?
Dr. Alex Rasheen, Teaneck. I want to congratulate the challengers, Son and Castle, for winning the seats on the council, and because they know a bit more about finances and about technology than any of the council members. I think that would be good for the council and for Teaneck. However, the thing is, meanwhile, okay, we are dealing with spending money or just taking money just when we don't have budget. We don't know whether we have money. Nevertheless, we have all this, just amended temporary budget things. Okay. How do you know that you have money to pay personnel or not? We don't have budget. We didn't discuss. We don't know how much money we have or we don't. We cannot approve or disapprove salaries and pensions for the unions because we don't know how much money we're going to have. Okay, so all this is absolutely unacceptable right now until full budget is discussed and we see that we have money and we don't have to raise taxes above a particular, just reasonable level that people can stay in the house. I was walking around, people are leaving, people are thinking to leave, okay, and they are tired and despair. Okay, so the thing is that the amend temporary budget, we don't have any reason to just put this money to the budget because we don't know whether we have them. Okay, and I'm absolutely against borrowing money if we don't have them and the budget doesn't allow it. Okay, this is not allowable in my opinion. It's a violation of the interest of the council, and this would have to be carried away by new council. You would put it on their backs, just find this money because we decided so. Not good. Okay, please be just responsible and don't promise money you don't have yet. Okay. The thing is that as for the temporary capital budget, that's absolutely ridiculous. Okay. Do we really need to spend $2 million for resurfacing roads and sidewalks and curbs right now and not to leave it for the next council? If we have money. We don't know whether we have money because the grants and all this stuff is $250,000 out of $2,150,000. It's not worth it. No. The answer is no. We can live without that and we can cut budget when we consider it. Okay. Now, storm drain projects and studies, $950,000. We can wait for the budget and knowing how much taxes we have to collect to pay for all that. Do we have them? Okay, we can postpone it as we postpone the buying of new cars and wait for the next year to see whether they have money. Now, municipal facilities upgrades, $500,000 basically. Okay, why? What facilities upgrades? $400,000 were put for removal of asbestos and not reserved price for cables connection. This is fault by the project author, Iovina, and probably by manager, or Iovina only, I don't know, decided. But that's not the way to add good money to bad one already. Okay, so now, emergency services equipment. Okay, $300,000 basically. Why now? We don't have money. We don't know whether we have any. Okay, and vehicle equipment replacements for DPW, another $500,000. No, none of this should be now just assigned in temporary budget. Budget should be ready. We should know what we have. We should know what we can afford. This is absolutely ridiculous and insulting and criminal. Second thing I want to say is that there possibly is violation of the law. Okay, the thing is that responsible for the quality of the materials and workmanship is architect Iovina. And the thing is that in the specifications for the walkway and the porch, he wrote that there is no metal or plastic to be used. They were used, and specifications for the metal rods which hold the rails, okay, are not found, okay? But no specifications. They are rusting. They bleed rust. This, I have pictures, color pictures to show you. There are 2 feet wide strips of rust under the new rails. okay, and we'll have to change it. So, and there is a, just one sentence more. There is a act of government that of 2009 that all of the metal used in public works should be American made. This looks like Chinese and should be shown that that the law is not violated before Iovina might do something which will go to pull apart $7 million.
People waiting behind you, so
let me just finish.
I gave you your sentence, so please, if you allow, there's a lot more people who'd like to speak.
We are looking for another lawsuit.
Okay, thank you. Mickey?
No fighting. Mickey Chelan, Teaneck. For the last couple of meetings, I've been bringing up the fact that there are so many employee parking spots, and there aren't enough for the residents of this town. And what I was told after the last meeting, I spoke to Mr. Broughton about it, and he said if we didn't have employee parking spots, we wouldn't have services. And I'm trying to figure that one out because employees get here at 8:30 in the morning, and they have choices of spots, okay? And then when I see empty employee spots and people driving around and around and no place to park, I think it should have been answered. Let's really look into it and see what we could do to give the residents more spots. And as I said, the employees come early in the morning. They have a choice of any spot. And I think it would make a lot of people happier, especially the senior citizens of this town. So please look into it, and let's come up with a decent solution. Okay, I spoke to many people that work for Apple and, for very big companies, and they say to me, I don't have a spot. I look around, I drive around, and I have to find a spot to go to work. I think it should be the same here. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Sir, in the back.
Thank you. My name is Ron Cope, 71 Garden Street, Teaneck, New Jersey. I want to piggyback on what Commissioner Rice said earlier about the communication between the council and the school board. But more importantly, in this situation, I have an 18-year-old son that was involved in the prank. And it's more important about the memorandum of understanding between DOE and the Attorney General of the state of New Jersey, and the memorandum of understanding between education and law enforcement officials. In Articles 6 and 7, it's very, very clear in Article 6 about parent notification. As parents, the first time that I saw my child after that night was here in this courtroom. And watching my child being brought out of a paddy wagon in shackles was extremely alarming to me, and especially my wife, and I'm sure many other parents here. Also, in Article 7, there is something called planned arrest. And like David Bland said, there are many crazy people in this world, but when you have a planned arrest, when we call other locales into our town, we are very fortunate. We are very fortunate that only some children were slammed to the floor, because with people coming from outside of this town, we don't know what could have happened. And in the planned arrest section of it, it says that a chief building administrator or administrator of education or the principal will be consulted or advised about what they should do about the incident that happened. If the acting chief of police just made this decision on his own, and the different instances of things and stories of what the children have experienced, he definitely needs to be held accountable for that. But we need to understand I have an 8-year-old child here. I have a 23-year-old, 18-year-old, and an 8-year-old. And my 8-year-old is going to come through this school system as well. What things are we going to put in place so that this never happens to my next child or to their next child or to someone else's child? We hope that this may be the end of a senior prank, but that doesn't mean that we don't interact, that we won't interact or experience any time of interacting with police in our town. And we need to make sure that every citizen is safe from the police in this town. And we need to understand exactly comments made by police to our children while they were in the cells, no calls, given no food, no water, no phone call, not read their Miranda rights. That's totally unacceptable. And they need to be held accountable for that. Screamed at, police coming in with donuts and coffee. They're asking for something to eat, calling them dumbasses. So many different things. Many of the children in wet clothes left there. My child alone had to be, I guess for safety, taken out of his sweatpants in long johns on the wood, on the wood bench. Whatever those situations are, we need to make sure that we have effective communication between law enforcement and our education system so that people understand what we're going to do moving forward. All right? It's very, very important because it's a traumatic experience. I don't think we really understand the trauma that our children went through. My child didn't leave the house for 2 days. My son usually runs every morning. He wouldn't even leave the house. I know other parents that I spoke to, their children wouldn't leave the house. And we definitely need to take into consideration how this is a traumatic experience and ensure that this doesn't happen any longer or anything like this ever happen in the city of Teaneck.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak? Ma'am?
Hello, my name is Jennifer Jones, and I am also the parent of a prankster. And I want to say I've spoken about it on several occasions, but I feel I am so dissatisfied with the way the acting police chief handled this situation. And if this is how he could handle something like this, then I question his ability to serve us or represent us as a community. I am really, really upset. And I've said this before, and people who've been at the other meetings, they've heard, but I'll voice it in front of you guys. I actually saw the kids sitting on the wall at 3:30 in the morning because I was on my way to work. And I got out of my car and I asked the police officer, what did they do? Because I knew that my son, he left me this cute note. He was going to the high school. It was a prank, a harmless prank. And the officer said to me that he did not think the school could open. He said that they busted up all the computers. He said they busted up all the furniture. And he told me that they busted out the windows. Now, this was at 3:30 a.m. in the morning. And the acting police chief went on the air at 9 o'clock a.m. with the same information I was given at 3:30, which means he did not speak with anyone to get the correct information. He single-handedly brought the kids down. That's how I feel, because had he gone on air in the press conference, and the purpose of a press conference is to give information to the media. So he fed the media the wrong information. And these kids, even though they are 18 years old, they are legally adults, but they still have TEEN at the end of their age. They are 18. And when you have an 18-year-old that acts like a 14-year-old, you question that. If you have an 18-year-old that acts like a 25-year-old, you question that. These children, as we all know, they are really good kids, and it was a prank gone wrong. I also want to say my son was traumatized. He could not sleep at night. I did not see him until I sat there in the courtroom. I didn't get a chance to speak to him until 11:30. And I was upset when I first heard what I thought had happened until I heard the truth. So he was one of the children that was body slammed on the floor, and the police officer had his hand on his gun, and my child thought he was going to get shot in the head. So it was, yes, these kids were traumatized by this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman-elect Sohn.
Alan Sohn, Teaneck resident. My congratulations, Mr. Katz, on your reelection. My congratulations to Lizette Parker on her reelection, and my best wishes to her for a speedy recovery. I offer my thanks, my sincere and humble thanks to the people of Teaneck for electing me and Jason Castle to office, and my appreciation to Mr. Stern and Mr. Gusson for their service to the township. For months, I have asked for a copy of the annual financial statement, documenting and closing our finances for 2013. For months, I've been looking for the introduction of the 2014 budget. I've seen nothing. Meeting with the township manager yesterday, Jason Castle was told that I was the only person in Teaneck looking for the annual financial statement. Turns out that other residents, including Mr. Castle, Dr. Powers, Tom Abbott, have also looked for it. It turns out that the state of New Jersey is also looking for the annual financial statement, charging a penalty for each day late, approaching 100 days. We have a budget due by law to be introduced in March, and it turns out that there are more than 3,000 Teaneck voters who agreed with me and with Jason that there is something deeply wrong with a township with no budget almost halfway through the year. Voters saw the absence of a budget in light of municipal tax rates that have soared by almost 15% over the past 4 years and almost 6% last year alone. Over the past 4 years, taxes have been anything but stable. After months of being alone asking for the budget, more than 3,000 voters joined me and Jason asking the question, where's the budget? We residents demand an answer to this very simple question. The budget is not being introduced tonight. It's listed under old business, months old business. At the April 30th forum, one incumbent stated that Jason and I were looking for things that don't exist. He was right. Almost 3 months late, Jason and I received thousands of pages in response to our Oprah requests that we never asked for. This document dump included several unrequested copies of the 2013 budget, but nothing for the 2014 budget. At the April 29th meeting, Dr. Pruitt asked his fellow council members to take ownership of the late annual financial statement and the late budget. He was completely ignored. Mr. Stern, Mr. Katz, Mr. Schwartz, Mayor Hamaduddin, will you join Dr. Pruitt in asking the manager to introduce a budget? More than 3,000 voters supported me and Jason in supporting Dr. Pruitt's effort to see the 2014 budget. Let's clear the agenda after good and welfare, and let's start work on the 2014 budget now. It's well past time to answer the question, where's the budget?
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Councilman-elect Castle.
Jason Castle, Teaneck. Though neither myself nor Councilman-elect Sohn have been sworn in, I think that I can speak for both of us to say that we are very much in support of the resolution that was passed this evening by the council in support of the children. I think that despite any conflicting statements, whether they be from the Board of Education or law enforcement, I believe that everyone in this room and hopefully everyone in this town stands behind the idea that these children's future should not be permanently damaged because of a temporary act of or a temporary lack of judgment. I do want to congratulate Councilman Katz, Councilwoman Parker on your victories in the last election. I'd like to thank the Deputy Mayor, Adam Gusson, and Councilman Stern for your years of service. I speak for both myself and Councilman-elect Sohn. We look forward to having the opportunity to serve with the council at large, to advocate on behalf of the residents of the township, and to make prudent decisions moving forward. I'd like to speak about this lawsuit. Councilman-elect Sohn and myself asked our attorney to initiate the process to withdraw the request of the court to compel the township and specific council members and members of the administration to turn over documents. We withdrew that claim not because we weren't supportive of our charge, that we felt that we weren't justified. We removed that, or directed our attorney to withdraw that particular claim simply because we knew that the documents that we were requesting would be available to us as councilmen, unredacted. I will share with Councilman-elect Sohn that I do have the 2013 annual financial statement, and that was provided to me, so I guess to the victor go the spoils, but I'm sure that you will get a copy of yours tomorrow. I will also want to address the counterclaim because I'm somewhat confused as to how a counterclaim was levied against Councilman-elect Sohn and myself without actual formal vote by council, or at least it being on the agenda. The way in which it was explained by the township attorney on the April 1st meeting is that whenever the council meets and they take votes without a resolution or an ordinance, it's merely a straw poll, and that no actual action can be taken without an official vote. So as much as I commend the council for withdrawing the lawsuit against myself or the counterclaim against myself and Councilman Sohn, I'm not exactly sure as to how it was undertaken in the first place without proper procedures being followed. And, you know, I mentioned that because there is a precedent on the books. It says a body such as the Borough Council must act when assembled at stated or special meetings and organized with the mayor and also the clerk to record its proceedings, and that it cannot act without an ordinance or resolution. So, Attorney Turretts, because you had stated that April 1st that action can't be taken without an ordinance or resolution, I'm not sure how a claim was or a countersuit was levied against us, but we'll resolve that after July 1st. Lastly, I want to talk about the fact that both myself and Councilman Sohn are accepting of the fact that the council may not pass a budget before July 1st. And we welcome the opportunity to actually go to that budget because I had the opportunity to speak with the township manager yesterday. And quite honestly, I was disappointed to see the level of padding that is in the 2014 budget. There's, you know, to make just a quick joke, I haven't seen that much padding since I went mattress shopping. I mean, there were positions that were being asked for that were not needed, and we were building an increase on positions that were never actually hired in the previous year. So I would encourage existing council members to look at the budget. I would draw your attention specifically to the 8 positions being requested for dispatchers. In conversation, the manager and I discussed that there were 6 dispatchers. He said, that we only need 9, but the budget is asking for 8. And at $50,000 a salary, that's an additional $250,000 that's been padded in. And to his own admission, we're padding the budget to accommodate tax assessment appeals. And I don't think that's the way in which we should be budgeting for the town, and we shouldn't be asking taxpayers to pay for something if the money has no intention of being spent for that in the first place. Beyond that, thank you. Thank you to the residents of Teaneck, and I look forward to advocating on your behalf. Thank you.
Just by a show of hands, who else would like to speak?
Hello, Teaneck.
Hi, William. My name is Marlene Sharp, formerly Marlene Hall of Teaneck. Before I came to this meeting tonight, I just quickly wanted to find out about the Teaneck Police Department, and I came across the mission of the police department. And it states, the mission of the department today is to safeguard the lives and property of the people they serve, to reduce the incidence and fear of crime, and to enhance public safety while working with diverse communities to improve their quality of life. Members of the department are committed to the highest ethical standards and to providing public services with honor, integrity, and respect. And then it talks about community policing. The goal of the community policing unit is to expand department's ability to apply problem-solving techniques to chronic issues within the township. The members of this unit will provide a greater ability to address resident concerns as well as police-identified issues. Squad members will have the mandate to address problems that could not otherwise be handled. Within the Teaneck Police Department, community policing is a philosophy and practice that overlaps and underpins all operations by all personnel. In short, everything we do has the concept of community policing in mind. We serve the community with dignity and respect. Oftentimes, police officers within the department do not have the flexibility to follow through on a problem from beginning to end. This squad has the ability to continue our efforts until a satisfactory conclusion is achieved by implementing problem-solving techniques to chronic issues within the township. And I guess my issue is that the response to what happened with the Teaneck prank, I know that all parents here, including myself, we all want to say mea culpa. The kids, they lacked judgment. The problem here is much greater than kids who lack judgment. The problem here is a scary concept that we have a police department that does not know how to tell the difference between kids coming out of school building and a real threat that causes you to call 17 other police officers. I grew up in Teaneck. I was in Teaneck. I actually was very good friends with Gary Spaff. So I lived in Teaneck during the shooting of Philip Pinnell, and we are so lucky that that didn't happen that night. I mean, it's just amazing. And I think for the police department to dig their heels in and stick with the highest charge that they could come up with. We all know, you look in the book, what does it say? But you have a mandate with community policing to look at really what's going on here. Just simply talking to the kids. I looked at, I think, Officer Garland's statement, and he said, oh, the kids were clearly remorseful and, they were afraid. It was clear from the very beginning that the kids, whatever they intended wasn't what the police, one, expected to find, and when it was clear that that's not what the police found, they couldn't figure out how to get out of it. Why? Because you had a press conference, and one of the things that my husband and I want to know is, what are the protocols for the police speaking to the press? Who speaks on behalf of the police station? Because I'm sitting with parents who are telling me various police officers told them what turned out to be erroneous information and are holding to that, and that's really what we want to find out. We will deal with our children. Actually, the school has dealt with our children, and that's what they're supposed to do. But the fact is that we keep going in circles and trying to get our kids to learn lessons. The lesson that I want every kid to know is that their government and their police department is accountable to them. I don't care whether the kids, whether they're the good kids, whether they're the bad kids. They're citizens of Teaneck, and they should be treated accordingly. We have community policing. We have police who knows the kids. We have a police officer who's in the school. The kids weren't going to run anywhere. So we're not really sure why the police felt that they needed 17 towns of officers. Even if some kid got away, you know what you would do? Hey, Miss Pinsack, there was a prank in the school. Can you find out what went on? You don't need to chase all the kids down and possibly get kids shot. Don't want to put my time. But I really feel, and as I said in the board meeting, my relationship with the Teaneck Police, I consider it complicated. I'm a very proactive parent, and I knew Gary Spath's father. I walk into the police station. I've had conversations with Chief Wilson. I've talked to the detectives in the juvenile bureau. But the problem is not everyone is going to have that relationship, and I think there needs to be training. I'm not of the view of you make a mistake and we just meet and we do some training. There needs to be some real accountability. I mean,
There will be, ma'am. Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Hutt, member of Teaneck Citizen. I've had 4 kids go through the Teaneck schools, and none of them were involved. They're all post-high school now. But I just want to say that as far as the opinion goes in our family, that the kids are being unduly treated, and we are siding with Alan and Jason and Chuck and the other parents who spoke in that it should be an internal matter and not treated as criminals. And I also support, I'm looking for the budget. Been waiting for that for months and months too, so add another one to the 3,000 and change that are looking for it. And I do think that the request from the previous speaker, I missed her name, that professional training is in order for the police department and how to handle unusual types of situations. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nia Butler, Teaneck High School graduate of class of 2012. During my senior year, I actually had a leadership role in planning and executing our senior prank. And first thing to say that when you're trying to plan a class-wide event that is as inclusive as possible, it's really hard to keep things organized and keep everybody on the same page when you're trying to include a big group of people. That being said, my class was also in the school after hours when we did our prank, and we were not disturbed. A lot of us stayed the night at the school. We had to camp out. We pitched tents on the front lawn. Eventually, police officers did roll around, and when they did question us, we said we're participating in a senior event. We're not trespassing. We can be here, and we were left alone for the evening. The next day, the consequences of the prank were dealt with within the school by the administration, and there were no legal or media. There was no legal or media involvement at all. So just to say that, like, I know most of the kids in the class of 2014, and we all know that they're not bad kids or delinquents or, you know, anything like that. Most of them are going to reputable schools in the fall, and they're, you know, it definitely started out with good intentions. In addition, I just want to say that this is my main issue with police officers. Police are public servants, and they're meant to serve and protect the community and make us feel safe, and not to embarrass and torment and, you know, instill fear and abuse. And, you know, I have people talking about, oh, did you hear about what happened in Teaneck in the gym and things like that? And we're not a bad town. Things like that don't happen, you know, but other towns are hearing about this in the news, oh, the big debacle, all this thing that happened. And, you know, that's just not okay. We're supposed to be a community, bring each other up, not embarrass each other to other people and, you know, make a big deal. That's it. Thanks.
Is there anybody else? Sir, did you want to speak? Sir, I'm sorry. No? There's nobody else? Sir, right there.
Good night. Good day, I should say. My name is Bill Millett. I've been living a resident of Teaneck for the last 15 years. I'm retired, and my problem is very small. On my street, there is no indication of the speed limit. The street is Amsterdam Avenue. Cars are constantly running from Cedar Lane to, I think it's Teaneck Road, constantly at a very high speed. I have a little small granddaughter living with me, and I'm afraid other kids on the block, someone is going to get hurt. Is there something that can be done so we can have some type of speed limit, something to be done to cut down on the speed of these cars going at this time? And that's all I have to talk about.
Thank you. In the back, ma'am? In the back, yeah.
the last one, maybe?
There you go.
So hot. Anyway, first of all, I just want to say I'm glad to be here, and I'm so proud. That was my daughter, Nia Butler. I'm Pat Butler from Teaneck, New Jersey. Been here almost 40 years. Nia, I'm so proud of you. And let's give her a big hand. But, you know, she represents Teaneck and her peers and the future. I'm looking at you, Mayor, my dear friend, childhood friend, Mr. Township Manager, Mr. Broughton. Ellie, I know you. Mr. Gusson went to Teaneck High School, and the long history and legacy we have here in this town. So I stand here really, really proud of my town. But I have to tell you, though, over the last maybe about a year now, I've been very, very disappointed by the rancor and the balkanization of our town. I know we have issues with the council. I've heard many of them exposed tonight, and I have to say I take full responsibility for not being as engaged as I should. I have been a mother 24/7 focused on issues with my kids' education in this town. I have been a PTO leader for 19 years. I don't know any other role, quite frankly. But I believe that our town let our children down. And I'll say this, I said this at the Board of Ed meeting, that we talk about diversity, we tout diversity, and we say, let's celebrate 50 years of being this inclusive community, the first to voluntarily desegregate. Well, the incarceration of 62 Teaneck High School students shows us that we have a huge perception of what inclusion really means, and perceptions about our youth of color in particular, as it relates to law enforcement. And I have had my own experiences with law enforcement in this town. While some have been good to me, I've had other experiences that were questionable. But when you have our kids paraded, shackled, not only the children that were of color, but children that were non-African Americans, shackled and paraded in front of the media for almost a week, being touted as vandals, criminals, thugs, and they live in Teaneck, our bucolic Teaneck, there's something wrong with that picture. So we can all stand here, and I can congratulate the newly elected council members. I can welcome the incoming council members and hope that they will put things in place. But this council in particular, and I have to say, Mayor Mohammed, I am very proud of you today, because I think you took a big stance when I called you and said, come out and talk to these parents who have been traumatized by this incident involving their children. And you didn't say, I'll call you back. Let me think about it. You didn't say, well, there's an election going on, or you said, you know what, I have to be there, and this is beyond politics. This is serious. So I really thank you, and I respect you so much for your position. Another point I'd like to make is that people want to say that children were angry and the police were angry. I so disagree. A senior prank is fun. The word prank means I go like this. It's a prank. A prank is something that you and I know is going on, and I prank you, and you like it, and you have fun. They were not going in there to terrorize the building, to trash the building, to do anything to dishonor the school or their town or their families. But somehow, the media and the world thinks that these are the kids that we have in this town, and that's unacceptable. I haven't heard any other council person step forward in this melee, this madness, this distortion, to stand up for our children. But yet, they want to talk about what the council isn't doing and what it is doing. Well, I want to thank this council for renovating the park for our children. I think that's an important thing going into the future. I guess we'll have to deal with that. I want to thank this council for making the proposition, the resolution for our children. I think the parents and the community residents support that. We thank you for that. And I want to thank this council again for initiating the Complaint Civilian Review Board, which is necessary, given if we're not careful, we will repeat the Purnell situation, and this time it'll be a lot more serious. So really, let's think about how we celebrate desegregation in Teaneck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is George. I'm from Amsterdam Avenue. And we have a street petition going on that I would like to address to the committee. I'm going to read it out loud to you guys. I represent myself along with 50 other residents of Amsterdam Avenue. We, the residents of Amsterdam Avenue, Teaneck, New Jersey, petitioned the Township of Teaneck, Teaneck Township Council, and Teaneck Township Manager to implement resident-only parking permits, and weekly parking regulations/restrictions for both sides of our street. There is insufficient street parking for us, the residents of Amsterdam Avenue. All week long, our street is full to capacity, with the vast majority of cars coming from non-resident vehicles from all over New Jersey and other states. The reason for this congestion is due to the close proximity to Teaneck Road and the New Jersey Transit bus route that commutes to New York City on Teaneck Road. Every morning, a massive amount of non-resident and out-of-state vehicles park their cars on Amsterdam Avenue, take the buses to New York City on Teaneck Road, and leave their cars parked on our street for the majority of the day, usually from 6 in the morning to 9 p.m. all week long, Monday to Friday. The inability to park on our street has created a huge problem and hardship for us, the residents of Amsterdam Avenue, and it creates difficulties with our everyday lives. This situation has become abusive and unfair to us residents. Another issue that we are having on Amsterdam Avenue is that since there are no parking regulations or restrictions of any sort, cars are parked on both sides of the street daily, preventing the DPW and sanitation to properly sweep the streets, pick up the leaves in the falls, and plow the snow in the winter. Since there are no signs or restrictions on our street, with cars parked on both sides of the street, the DPW trucks have a difficult time servicing our street. Sometimes months have elapsed and our streets have not been properly serviced because of the cars, mainly from other areas, occupying both sides of the street daily. As a resolution, we respectfully request that the Township of Teaneck, Teaneck Township Council, and the Teaneck Township Manager work together on this matter for the better of Amsterdam Avenue and Teaneck as a whole, and implement the following: resident-only parking restrictions, resident parking permit requirements, and once a week, no parking regulations for both sides of the streets. These positive resolutions will greatly benefit not only us, the residents of Amsterdam Avenue, but the Township of Teaneck as well. By enforcing weekly no parking regulation ordinances, the Township of Teaneck will save a lot of money all year round when they clean and maintain Amsterdam Avenue. By having the streets clear of parked cars once a week, on that day, they will be able to perform a better job and save lots of hours of labor at the same time. By enforcing resident-only parking and resident parking permit ordinance, it will keep our streets peaceful, safe, and less congested. Attached to this petition, we have over 50 signatures. Everyone on our street gladly signed and support our cause. We have 10 pictures of the parking situation that I took on a random Monday, where the streets are completely full to capacity. We had a car accident last week. The car's parking so tight there was actually an impact in front of my house, and it's just becoming a big situation. I would like to know, who do I have to turn this petition?
Just give it over to the clerk. She'll take it.
Okay, and when will we have a resolution, a status, a feedback of any sort?
We'll answer the questions at the end.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Seeing no other hands, good and welfare is now closed. The manager will be in touch with you, sir, regarding Amsterdam Avenue. I know it well. It's been going on for 2 years. Every time I come to get my haircut on the corner, it's a problem of finding parking, and we've been working with residents. So I asked Sean, actually, to bring in the petitions. I don't know if he got in touch with you or you guys just did it on your own. But I'm thankful that you guys guys came in. So we can take care of that, and the manager will be in touch to find some kind of resolution. I thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I think that there's a lot that has happened in the last 2 weeks that we need answers for. One of the things that a lot of the allegations that you hear tonight, and I want you to just understand that I did not ever wake up one morning and say, I want to run for council. I didn't wake up one morning and say, I want to be mayor. I had a zoning issue. that affected me, my family, and some of my friends, and I got involved in the town. And one of the things, the reason I mentioned this is because I've been putting on a council-listed item a class that was founded by former Mayor Jackie Cates called Leadership Teaneck. And Leadership Teaneck will hopefully be, if the next council would like to do it, or be starting in the fall. And when it starts in the fall, you can learn about how the statutory authority of the Township Council works with the Teaneck Police Department, and how much little civilian control that there is over the Teaneck Police Department, how the Police Chief Bill of Rights works. And these things that we're talking about, I think that, we have to look at the positives that's going to come out for this. And somewhere in here, I really hope that a lot of people do sign up for the Civilian Complaint Review Board, as well as sign up for the class for Leadership Teaneck, because there is a lot that people think that we have the power to do. And there's a lot of allegations of illegality that people make. And I think that when you take this class, you'll see, how many budgets and how many municipalities in the state of New Jersey are late at this point in this juncture right now. You'll see what is illegal and not illegal, and you'll try to decipher yourself through the noise that people make during these council meetings to really make our town better. So the three things that, we came in here tonight was, one was the Civilian Complaint Review Board for this situation, 2, the endorsing resolution, and 3 was Leadership Teaneck. So I really hope that people take that class and really understand what our constraints are, what our charter is, and how we're going to move forward. I will say this, that I still believe, and I believe that members of council and new members of council are going to find all the facts. And no matter how long, no matter how uncomfortable, the facts of what happened, because I've heard a lot of disturbing allegations, not only tonight, that have been repeated to me, where people have called me that morning, of kids that, quite frankly, I know very well. And I think that these facts, they need to be hashed out in an investigative manner, independently, so that we can say concretely what has happened in our town 2 weeks ago. Mr. Manager, is Mr. Schur still here from the Garden Club? No. So he left. He's looking for a fence around the Garden Club. If you can just get in touch with him. And there's the parking. For Jones, Ron Cope, Mickey Chilane, Dr. Rasheen. Dr. Rasheen, we were talking about the bond ordinances. These, aside from one of the ordinances, these are routine ordinances that go on every year. We do have a budget. We have a temporary budget. We just don't have an approved budget. Yes, I understand you disagree with me, like many of your supporters will disagree with me. But we do have a temporary budget. And we will talk about the budget at our next meeting when we have full complement of council. Does anybody else have anything to issue? Dr. Pruitt?
I'd like to commend the council for the resolution to County Prosecutor Malinelli. And I hope that he makes his decision pretty soon and makes the decision to send it back to Teaneck. That having been said, we still have a lot of work to do in terms of improving the communication between the Board of Ed and the Township Council, and between the Board of Ed, the Township Council, and the Police Department and the community. So once Malinelli does his work, we're not complete with that particular issue. I found it interesting that the national news in Teaneck was the 50th anniversary of the desegregation of schools. That didn't make the national news. What made the national news was some kids inside a school building. We have to make sure that our residents understand that in a multicultural district, some things are very much more important than it might be in another kind of a district. Because of the upsetment on both sides of the student issue, the newspapers had a field day. They didn't even mention the 50th anniversary the next week. On the budget, we have on July 1st, a new council being installed. It is absolutely unfair to saddle a new council with the old council's budget decision. Now, there's a problem that we need to solve tonight. Between the budget introduction and the budget adoption, I believe has to be 28 days. So if we don't introduce the budget next Tuesday, it will be impossible to pass the budget the last week in July. So I implore my fellow council members to vote tonight to have the budget introduced next week so we can leave the responsibility for this budget on this council and not go on off into the following year giving the responsibility to somebody else. I hope that folks will endorse that idea this evening.
Councilman Katz.
First of all, I also wanted to welcome the teachers and thank them publicly. I know a lot of them have left, but I neglected to recognize them. And thank you for all your hard work and being on the front lines with the students of Teaneck. I want to also thank the Pat Butlers, the Pat D'Onofrios, and the other parents of Teaneck that have worked very hard to take a stand to seek out the facts while many in the media were judging Teaneck. It's kind of ironic tonight that we had all these cameras and we had the Teaneck Jazz Photographer Award. We had a jogger who was in Florida who saved someone's life. We had Teaneck members of the Teaneck Volunteer Ambulance Corps, which many of them are public school students, getting life-saving awards, and that's not why they were here. But that is really the best of Teaneck, and that is what we should all be very proud about. I too join in the council, and this, at the last 2-3 weeks I've been involved in a little bit of a baby campaign. Some of you might have noticed. So I did not want us to get involved politically with this issue because this is a very personal issue to many. I know that there are a lot of people in this room that are angry, but I think that most people in this room are more concerned and scared. Certainly I know a lot of the students that I've spoken to are concerned and scared. I believe the following. I believe that no matter who you are or what you read or how you read it, this was a prank. No one described it as students from other towns or anyone trying to do damage. This was a prank. And I think a prank should be dealt with like a prank. I don't believe that these students, kids, whether they're 18-year-old kids or 17-year-old kids or students, however way you want to categorize them, they're students and they're kids of Teaneck, should be punished for life for a prank, for something that they did, whether it's been done every year. And I do believe that it should be taken out of the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office, and obviously this is something that the council has absolutely no control over, but we can certainly voice this and brought into the hands of our Board of Ed and our municipal court here to be dealt with as it really was, a prank. And certainly what I've heard from many residents is, even the ones that were not supportive of what happened, that the Teaneck taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for any cleanup, and I don't believe that is the case. So I do also commend the council tonight for passing that resolution, and I commend the residents tonight for coming out, keeping this issue alive, and searching and seeking for the truth. And that's it. Thank you.
Council, if you don't, we'll just take a 5-minute break and then get back to business, okay? So we're just adjourned.
Yeah.
That's too much.
This is my time.
somewhat close. That means they're somewhat close. Everybody, please take their seats. The meeting's back in order. Next item on tonight's agenda is the consent agenda. Would somebody like to move the consent agenda?
I'll move it, Mayor. I will move the consent agenda, including resolutions 1 through 13, plus the bill list in the amount of
$7,814,402.68.
And the two raffles.
and the two raffles, correct.
Do we have a second?
What?
Go ahead.
I want to pull out number 7.
Pulling out for discussion resolution number 7. Can we have a roll call, please?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Just number 13, which was just walked in. I don't know if I have property within 200 feet of this, so I just want to confirm that I could still vote on 13. It's a liquor license.
Do you have any interest in liquor license?
In this liquor license? No.
Any liquor license?
No. Not that I'm aware of. Not yet.
You don't have any interest in the liquor license? I don't think you would have a comment.
Okay. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, second.
Second was Councilman Schwartz.
Councilmember Stern?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yeah.
Councilmember Katz?
No on resolution 1, 2.
Councilmember Schwartz?
No on 1, 2, and I recused. I stepped out on 13.
Mayor?
Yes.
And I'm recusing on the bill list.
Let the record reflect that Councilman Katz recused himself on the bill list. Dr. Pruitt, do you have questions on resolution number 7?
Resolution number 7. The property was a gas station or some kind of an oil source, and I don't see where the remediation has taken place in the documents that we have. Now, if somebody has information about that, help me with it.
Mr.
Matters dealing.
I'm going to vote against it anyway. Okay.
Okay, can we have roll call, please, on resolution 7?
So we have to move it first?
You already moved it.
Oh, okay.
It was just pulled for discussion.
Oh, okay.
It was pulled for discussion. He had one from the chair.
You want to move it? I'll move second.
Second.
I'll second.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next item on tonight's agenda is introduction of ordinances. Would somebody like to introduce ordinances number 11 through 18, 2014?
Yes. I'll introduce ordinances 11-2014, 12-2014, 13-2014, and 14-2014. Oh, 15-2014, 16-2014, 17-2014, 18-2014.
Do you have a second? Seconded by Councilman Katz. Discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the bond ordinances that starts at number 14-2014 down to 18-2014 should be postponed until we get a budget.
Okay, thank you.
The manager to discuss any ramifications on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
On Councilman Pruitt's comment, is there any ramifications on 14-2014?
No, none of these items have an impact on the 2014 budget because we used money from the capital fund to fund these items. They will have no impact on the 2014 budget. The items that we need to do to move forward, road paving, we have an issue on Downing Street where we have flooding from the roadway going on the properties, flooding garages. We need to move forward with that. We have an issue on Van Arsdale Road and Rensselaer where we have flooding. It's going on to properties, private property, and into swimming pools and other items we need for the renovation project that we're doing next door. We also have the audible alert system that was in previous capital budgets. We need to move that forward. We had seniors come and discuss that issue, and we said that we would move forward on that. And the last item is acquisition of DPW equipment. We have DPW equipment that's aging. We're going to have issues going forward in our next season when it snows as to the roadworthiness of our current vehicles and keeping those vehicles on the road. These vehicles are very much needed for the DPW to plow the street properly during the next snow season.
Thank you.
Question on that. Since we don't have a budget and we don't know what kind of discussion will happen when we do talk about the budget, is there some flexibility in those particular ordinances where we could use some of that money to satisfy some of the things that we must have for next year's budget?
No, these are capital items. These are items that are going to be financed over a long period of time. These are not operating expenses. So these items are going to have zero impact on the 2014 budget. The down payments already paid for these items, the 5% down payment that we need, and we need to move forward on these items. Already, it's, we should be paving already.
One other thing. If we agree to meet next Tuesday to introduce the budget, then I'll vote for these.
Okay. Can we have a roll call, please?
You have to read the introduction into the record. And this is only introducing it. This is not adopting.
Jamie,
do we need a supermajority for bond ordinance?
Not for introducing. For approving it, the answer is yes.
Ordinance 11-2014, an ordinance establishing salaries and classification of positions for municipal employees in the Township of Teaneck, included within the Professional Fire Officers Association of Teaneck, PFOA, Local 242, for the years 2014 to 2017. Ordinance number 12-2014, ordinance establishing salaries and classification of positions for municipal employees in the Township of Teaneck, included within the Firemen's Mutual Benevolent Association, FMBA, Local number 42, for the years 2012 through 2016. Ordinance number 13-2014, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of Block 212, Lot 1, as shown on the tax map of the Township of Teaneck, located at 671 Pomander Walk in the Township of Teaneck. Ordinance number 14-2014, bond ordinance to authorize the 2014 road resurfacing and sidewalk and curb improvement program in, by, and for the Township of Teaneck in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $2,149,000 to pay for the cost thereof, to appropriate a state grant, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Ordinance number 15-2014, bond ordinance to authorize stormwater drainage improvements and studies at various locations in, by, and for the Township of Teaneck and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $1 million to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds, to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Ordinance number 16-2014, bond ordinance to authorize various improvements to municipal buildings and facilities in, by, and for the Township of Teaneck in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $475,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds, to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Ordinance number 17-2014, bond ordinance to authorize the acquisition and installation of a township-wide audible alert system and the acquisition of other emergency services equipment in, by, and for the Township of Teaneck and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $300,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of the bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Ordinance number 18-2014, bond ordinance to authorize the acquisition of new additional or replacement equipment and machinery and new automotive vehicles, including original apparatus and equipment for the use of the Department of Public Works and by and for the Township of Teaneck and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $480,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds, to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Stern.
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt.
Yes for 11, 12, and 13, and no for the rest of them.
Councilmember Katz.
Yes.
Councilmember Schwartz.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Next item on tonight's agenda is old business. For municipal budget, I know that Deputy Mayor Gusson is not feeling well as Councilwoman Parker. I'd like to have their input on this budget before we move forward, and as well as the 2014 capital budget. Is anybody going to be here next week for a special meeting?
I'm away.
How many you need?
You need 4.
When next week?
Tuesday.
I'm away next week.
So we'll work, Mr. Manager, if you can try to get a date for us to have a special meeting.
We can
Contact the other two, contact Deputy Mayor Gusson and Lizette Park to see if they're, Councilwoman Parker, to see if they're available.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I'm not looking to have a special meeting, to be honest with you. I think that we're 4 weeks away from having a new council. I actually feel the opposite of what Dr. Pruitt said. I think that, in a way, we're kind of fortunate to have fresh eyes look at this budget. And, it was mentioned by one of the council-elect individuals that there's some padding in the budget. You know what? I think it's everybody on this council's intention to try to find savings for the residents of this town. So I'm not going to rush this just to get it closed. I'd like to do this right. So I'm going to be supporting the reviewing of the budget when we have the 2 new council members to help us find these savings so we can pass it on to the taxpayers. So I will not support a special meeting, and I won't vote for the budget until I have the input of the 2 new council candidates. I think we're looking at it as a positive, not as a negative.
I think that we are abrogating our responsibility. Our responsibility is the 2014 budget. The new council should work on the next budget.
If you could just announce the annual financial statement. I know there's people requesting it. It's been submitted and it's available on the website. And I'm sorry, it's connected to the old business, so I just want to mention that. It's been certified and posted on the website for whoever was looking for the statement.
Councilman Stern, do you have anything to add? Okay.
Let me ask you a question. Mr. Broughton, when does the tax rate have to be set? Is it July 1st?
No. We have to get a budget first.
No, I understand that, but under normal circumstances, you pay taxes from July 1st until June 30th. Is that correct?
Yeah, but
so if we delay the process, it means that people will have to pay the July 1st
you might have to
taxes and the September taxes at the same time.
No, you would issue initial bill and then follow that up with you would issue a temporary bill. That's not really the issue. You would have to issue an initial bill first.
Okay, thank you. Next item on tonight's agenda, shared services. Does anybody have anything to add on that? Go ahead.
No, I think that I'd like to see, have you reached out to Pagoda to talk to them about some of the items that we could share service with? I mean, I don't know who you'd reach out to there. I don't know if, I only read about Pagoda, I don't really, but I've spoken to some of the council members, but I'm not sure if they're all aligned with the same opinion. But, they have a building department, they have a DPW of 6, they have certain services that we could kind of share together where both towns could be can benefit. And I'm not saying that we should look towards the law enforcement, which I realize is a little more political. But some of the other areas, the courts, right now they're sending their courts to, I think, Little Ferry or something like that.
Yeah, I meet on a regular basis, probably monthly, with managers from the contiguous towns. Pagoda is one of the towns. Yeah. And in every single meeting we have, we talk about shared services.
So nothing of substance or nothing that we can
There's some things that we've come out with, but for me, the items have to be beneficial to Teaneck residents for them to work.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't, a lot of the small towns, they want to share, but I don't want to see, Teaneck residents, incur any costs as a result of that. So some of these sharing arrangements don't necessarily work out well for us. But actually, I do have one sharing arrangement that I'm going to share with the council regarding our sewer camera that we recently purchased. And this group that I work with, the Northern New Jersey Community Foundation, they provided an individual to a firm to conduct a study and look into what the cost would be, what the appropriate amount would be to charge other towns, and it looks like it could be beneficial or mutually beneficial to Teaneck and some other towns that may want to take advantage of our sewer camera, towns that don't have a sewer camera. So I have a document that I'll share with you this evening on that.
On the topic of shared services, this has been a word that we've obviously all of New Jersey has discussed over the last few years, and we as Teaneck have been trying to do quite a bit about. And you gave a report, you've been giving reports on shared services, like you just mentioned. And if possible, and if my council agrees, if there's something we can post online about our shared services that you've been working on, meeting with the school, and I know a lot of it's preliminary, and I'm not sure the exact way to go about it, but there's a lot of preliminary conversations you've had with the Board of Ed. We've discussed the shoveling. It's obviously there's a report right here, and if it's something that we can start focusing, and we've listed it under old business, but to start having it's something people stop me in the street about all the time, and if it's something we can start keeping that track of, so when people say, well, what's shared service? It's more than just the camera, the plowing, the equipment, the snow, other items with the Board of Ed and the other nearby municipalities, and something that we can just show that we're continuing to work on to make it impactful in the future.
Can you see how much it's
Mark, you done with shared services? Next item is municipal court security and police and fire dispatch. Mr. Manager, I've been asking since January to try to get this done. I put it on the agenda since January to try to get us level 2 police officers so that our police officers that we are mandated by the state to have 3 out there during our court's time, that they could be out on the street and doing police work, and we can have retired police officers or level 2 officers who are licensed to carry, by the way, handle court security at $15 an hour. Have we made any headway?
Yeah, we've made headway. I have a report from our labor attorney. He's raised some issues in the report, and I'm going to have him come to June 10th council meeting, closed session, before he drafts a final ordinance that would create those positions.
That it would create problems with the unions, that they would fight it?
There could be some contractual issues. So I think that, as a contractual issue,
Did we discuss
council
this
should discuss that.
Did we discuss this with the union to see if they're for it or against it?
I think that we need to discuss it with the attorney first. I'd like the council to have that benefit.
Police and fire dispatch?
Police and fire dispatch, we were trying to arrange a visit for council to go up to the Senate. So that's where we last left at.
Can we pick a date for that and then make sure that that happens in like the first week of June? Do that.
Want me to work on that?
Please.
I'll make arrangements with the manager's office, get a couple days, try to nail it down.
Thank you. Next item on tonight's agenda is miscellaneous. There is none. New business reorganization meeting, July 1st, 2014, where we'll be swearing in a new council. Did we pick a time?
6 o'clock This is.
Yeah.
This is, I think, something where we should invite the council-elect up to participate, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely. Jason, you guys want to come up? Sit right there. That's what I did. Yeah.
I think, Mr. Manager, I think that you want to do, we've been doing it over the last few years outside, I think.
Yes.
And is that something that the council wants to continue with?
I'm fine with it outside.
Outside. So the issue is outside at 8, maybe a little too late. The question is 6. Does that work for everyone's schedule as far as work and family and everything like that?
Works fine for me. 6 o'clock is
I
fine.
think one year we did it outside in the back, and we started at 7 o'clock, and it got dark.
Right.
Yeah. So we had a huge problem. So I'm recommending 6.
Yeah.
So on the front lawn.
Right here. This is the inclement weather plan.
Here.
What day is that?
Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday. And it has to be that day.
Right.
I'll come next.
All right.
Okay, so and then, if you have anybody that you want to give the convocations to or the benedictions, please give the names to Jamie. Is there anything else that I'm missing?
No, we just have to confirm that it's okay with Lizette.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
There's no meeting. No rain date. It has to be. It has to be on that day.
The invitation will say the municipal
inside.
building, but.
You guys have anything to add? No. We'll be there.
The meeting is organized by the clerk.
Okay. So the only other thing you have to have is somebody to swear you in.
No, that's the next meeting.
That's the next meeting. That's the next meeting, yes. Okay, so that's done. All right, ordinance adding commuter parking on Puffin Way.
This is an ordinance that I've been working on with Councilman Katz, and this ordinance would also include Elizabeth Avenue. So what we did is we had done a study previously, and we had found that you had a lot of out-of-town residents parking on Elizabeth Avenue, and out-of-town people parking on Puffin Way as well. And we were trying to open up these locations to Teaneck residents so that they could park in these locations for a nominal fee. So I didn't put it on for introduction. I wanted to have a discussion about it. Also, at the high school, if we do this on Elizabeth Avenue, we did it so that you would have, you'd be able to park there for 2 hours. Anybody would be able to park there for 2 hours. If a parent had to come and run into the school and transact business, or the students and faculty would get a free pass to park in these particular areas.
So first I'd like to applaud the manager for continuously looking for additional areas for our residents, and it's specifically for our residents to find parking. You know, we heard, I think, from residents on Amsterdam Avenue tonight. I think they were dealing with some of the commuter issues as well because of the 167 line that goes down Teaneck Road. And here we're creating additional areas so that commuters can buy tickets at a very, very inexpensive rate and have the peace of mind that they have a parking spot. My only request is that just between now and the next meeting, can you just make sure that the high school 100% clearly understands exactly what this is and what it involves, and how we specifically structured it so that we accommodate.
I would say with the high school part, that we probably shouldn't move on that until after the school year's done, because we're already at the end of the school
Well, it's not going to be implemented. If we introduce it at the next meeting and then pass it, whatever, by the time the 60, 90 days, whatever it is, it's not going to happen until August.
And another thing I think that we probably are going to have to look at in the future is possibly opening this up to non-residents. We do have resident commuter parking on the north side of Ward Plaza. We don't have a lot of people parking there, and we may need to evaluate this in the future to open these up, obviously at a higher fee.
Right. Will this change the fee? Will this change the fee for Ward Plaza also?
No, the fee's $50 for
Oh,
the
Ward
year.
Plaza is 50, so it's all the same.
It's all the same.
You know, I looked at the Elizabeth Avenue plan, and I think that there may be some problems attached to that. That we have to make sure we've got it completely vetted, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because we may end up worse off for people who have to live there or park there. So let's kind of look at it and make sure it's okay.
But there's no one living in this specific area that he's chosen. There's no one living there or across the street.
High school kids and the teachers and...
Right, I know, and that's what, yeah, agreed, and that's why we said we have to specifically communicate with the Board of Ed to make sure. But I think the manager put in a lot of different specific issues dealing with those school people.
Okay. All right, next item on tonight's agenda, communications. There are none. Committee reports, council liaison reports, anything? Okay,
I had a meeting with the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. They're quite a lively group. They are very concerned about parking spaces at the Rota Center and the parking spaces at the municipal complex. I'm not sure how to solve the problem, but they talk about it a lot.
Can I ask the attorney a question? When is the date that they're supposed to be done with the construction for PSE&G?
I can.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I can't give you the date, but it's very soon. I'm going to be having a meeting down there probably next week because they asked today what state do we want them to leave the parking lot in, and we agreed. And I think we agreed that we wanted at a minimum for them to leave the stone there.
Right.
So I'm going to have a meeting with them and see if I can get it fixed up as best as possible with enough stone.
So you think they're nearing the end of
Yes.
their? Okay. They have an actual lease with us, right?
Yes.
And when's the term of their lease expire?
I don't know when the term expires, but they have a lease. I think it's $4,000 a month or so that
Right.
they pay. So.
Okay.
Okay, council list, committee reports. I met with the Community Relations Advisory Board last night. We did discuss the issues with the Board of Ed. President Walter was there. Commissioner Clara Rice was, Clara Williams was there, as well as Councilman-elect Councilman Stone. We did discuss these issues that we were talking about. There was no objections to moving forward with this resolution. They were supportive of it. And we did talk with the Board of Ed before we did the resolution.
Oh, good.
Okay, council listed items?
Yes. Ellie White counts?
Yep.
Our first item I request is about abandoned properties. As I've been getting a lot of complaints about some of the foreclosed / abandoned / boarded houses and properties throughout the town. I know that Hackensack had an abandoned property ordinance a few years ago, and I don't know what exactly is in that ordinance, but maybe we can request a copy of that, and then put it on for old business at the next meeting to discuss. But basically, residents are stuck with these houses next to them, and it's unsightly.
And
Yes.
Mayor, just a question for the ordinances under new business. Do I have consent to list them for introduction on June 10th? Having to do with the commuter parking?
We're going to I got to review those first with Councilman Katz, and I want to talk with Dr. Pruitt, but I'll give you direction on this.
Okay, field dedication.
I just wanted to pick a date. We all had a tour of the field in the last 2 weeks. It's really gorgeous. A real additional gem to Teaneck and to Votee Park. And maybe we can ask the manager to come up with a date and dedicate the field.
You gonna have a sign ready, or
working on that now?
You'll email.
Okay, not like the burial ground, please. No. Okay, Councilman Katz, bus signage.
I discussed this with the manager. Basically, all the House of Worship signage goes through him as it has in the past, and there's a uniformity. It's a specific look that he does with all the different House of Worship, and he's going to take this one under his responsibility as well.
Do we have a date when we can get that out, or?
Well, I think the way it works is that the House of Worship pays for it, but the manager has to approve it.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so we're basically letting him handle it administratively.
Gotcha. Recycling?
You know, I know that this part of the email was quoted, but I think what was happening was originally, and I appreciate Jamie jogging my memory, the resident was concerned that her garbage pickup person, her hauler claimed that the Township of Teaneck does not allow the garbage haulers by ordinance to pick up recycling. And I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Literally, it's the law that you have to recycle.
No, I understand that. So she wants to recycle more often. So she asked her garbage hauler to pick up the recycling. And she was told that the Township of Teaneck has an ordinance that does not allow the garbage haulers to pick up recycling. So I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if this was, I know the...
Can you look into that and then get back to us?
If that's the case, you know, obviously this ordinance was done maybe 15, 20 years ago when recycling was worth a lot of money to the town.
But I mean, the DPW is still open for recycling.
Yeah, I know. She wanted her hauler to do it.
Well, her hauler said he would, but...
He said he would, but the Township of Teaneck prevents it.
Fine. If you said he would.
Yeah.
Okay, council listed items for me. For 2014 Leadership Teaneck class, I have 4 members of council here that will be here after July 4. Are you guys all committed to having this class in the fall? Okay. And then the Civilian Complaint Review Board, are you guys all committed to taking in applications and in the next council moving this forward so we can start having applications?
What was the board makeup? I know there's a union. What was the
There was one person from the police union representative, 5 council representatives, and then 1 from the manager, correct?
Yes, 5 and 2 alternates.
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay. Yeah.
So we can tie in the Board of Ed on our choice. We can tie in a Board of Ed on our choice. I mean, we're on where we select the council selects the 3. Not.
Yeah. So, are you guys, yes? Yes? Ellie? Yes? Yes? Councilman Pruitt? Yeah, it's okay. It's okay? Okay. All right, great. Township Manager's report.
Accelerated tax sales or tax sale date change. This is something that we had previous discussions about when we started the budget, and I wanted to bring this up again. I wanted to have a discussion about it. Right now in Teaneck, we usually have our tax sales in November. And having it in November allows property owners to be delinquent approximately 7 quarters on their taxes before you have quarters going for you, before you have a tax sale. These delinquencies impact our tax collection rate, which impacts the amount we have to reserve for uncollected taxes. So right now in this year's budget, there's a calculation. We have about $3.3 million that we have to budget for uncollected taxes based on our tax collection rate. So we have a couple of choices. If we have an accelerated tax sale, all taxes will be due in the year that they're owed, which the taxes will be due in December. Or we could move to change our tax sale date. Instead of having it in November, we could bring that date sometime in January, and hope that people pay their taxes in the previous year, and that would change or increase, hopefully increase our tax collection rate, which will allow us to budget less for the reserve for uncollected taxes. Now, Inglewood in the past has had an accelerated tax sale. They were putting about $3 million, the same as Teaneck, in their reserve for uncollected taxes. This year, I think they were able to get that down to $250,000. So the money that we have on the table there is significant. I think $3 million is a significant amount, and it's a discussion that we need to have. It's something that people need to know about. It's something that we're going to be placing when we go to send out tax bills. We're going to be putting a little note on there that we're having a discussion about this, and that we may change our tax sale date or go to an accelerated tax sale.
Mr. Manager, this would only help us for 1 year, correct?
This is yes.
In other words, you take the $3 million, you move the $3 million down to $250,000 1 year.
Yes.
And then every year thereafter, it stays at about $250,000.
Yes.
So in other words, it's a 1 year fix, so to speak.
Yes.
Right, but this year's would have been a zero. We're looking for $2 million. We have this.
You're going to get a couple $1 million in 1 year if you do this, which is nothing to sneeze at. But,
correct.
But the next year you're back to not where you started from, but you're not getting $2 million, $2.5 million the following year.
I mean, I wish we could, but we're not. But we're getting it 1 year, and this is something I've been in favor of. You know, New York City, we just completed a lien sale this past Friday. It's anything greater than 4 quarters. 7 quarters to not pay your taxes and suffer is I don't think it's equitable.
So, and this is something we'll have to look at and evaluate it exactly how much we want to budget. We're not going to automatically go to 250. You know, we're going to come down to 250. Initially, there'll be a big bump down, and then we'll try to bring it all the way down to the lowest possible level. But you know, I need to know if the council wants me to do more work on this, or which direction it is. But I wanted to have this public discussion so that people who depend on paying their taxes in November or just before the tax sale, that they know that this year is going to be different, or I'm sorry, next year is going to be different, or that we may move the date. So
whatever year you do it, and the people will not have the slack they've had in previous years.
Yes.
There should be no slack. With proper notice, and no one's looking to ram anything. So I'm very much. If you're looking for my input, I mean, I've brought this up, and I'm very much in favor of it.
All right, so I will work further with the township attorney, and I'll. Okay.
And maybe I should just, in light of what Councilman Katz said, that perhaps we do have an open forum at the Rota Center one night, just to alert people of any, of a tax lien. It's something, once again, some other municipalities across the river have open forums in each borough, an open forum to advise people, because perhaps there are people that do rely on paying their taxes 7 quarters late, that they can no longer rely on it, and any open forum and announcing and publication of that is definitely something that we want to make sure we take care of.
Well, one of the things we could do is we could move incrementally and change the tax sale date. We could bring the tax sale date into January and see what impact that has. Because once we go to accelerated sale, we're locked into that. So we could move the date into January and see what impact that has on the tax collection rate.
Well, either that, or you could move the tax sale date, I don't know if this works though, from November, sort of like, maybe a quarter and a half, for lack of a better term, I don't know, 14, 15 weeks earlier one year and then 14, 15 weeks earlier the following year, so that the people who are behind don't get hit as quickly as in 1 year. So the people that get hit over a period of 2 years, so to speak. In other words, they are sort of like eased into the need to pay their taxes earlier, or not to be that late, however you want to call it. It's just a thought.
However the council wants to do it.
I think we should continue the conversation, not 11 o'clock at night.
Okay. Shared services, I already discussed the sewer camera. Police Department's 100-year anniversary. Their 100-year anniversary is Sunday, June 1st. We're going to have an open house there at the Police Department on June 1st, Sunday, June 1st, from 10 to 2. Community's invited. We have a plaque that we installed there, and we're going to dedicate that plaque. So everyone's invited to attend 10 o'clock at police headquarters. And that's it.
I'm sorry. Footbridge, I know we spoke about it before earlier during the break. On Palisades Avenue, I actually got 3 emails since our conversation from the whole family. Can you just give an update on what's happening with that footbridge?
Yeah, the footbridge, the footbridge is in not so good condition. Many of the steps have deteriorated, and we felt it necessary to close it. We had an inspection done of the bridge. There was a company that was inspecting the State Street Bridge. In order to do that, you have to have certain clearance from CSX, so we were able to get them to inspect our bridge as well while they had that clearance. So we're waiting for a report to tell us the condition of the bridge and if we can repair the bridge to open it again. So we're waiting on that report to come in.
So, yeah.
What happened? Like, what? It was just not maintained. What was the issue? It's a bridge. You're right. It's an old, so is the George Washington Bridge. We get wrong bridge issues.
But they put a lot of money into the George Washington Bridge.
Right. Is it something we have other bridges that we're going to have a problem with, or the Lincoln Place Bridge, Lowell School? Is that a bridge that's ours, or is that the state's?
That's the state. The one that runs across the highway.
Right. So that's not. But do we have any? I don't recall if we have any other bridges. So I don't believe we do. Yeah. But we have any other issues we can prevent this? I mean, that's a bridge I used a lot myself. But
we gotta. I mean, the bridge as a whole, it's deteriorating. The concrete's deteriorated. It needs a lot of work.
That's a shame. So right now, there's no plans specifically to repair it. We're not sitting by and doing nothing, but we're going through the process.
We have to get that report. Once we get that report, we'll know
what needs to be done, and then get a price on what will cost. Okay. And then the other issue is I've been getting a lot of calls, emails about the appraisal systems going around, and I think now that the public's back to being the public, we should try to promote.
So we had one meeting on May 15th at the Rhoda Center regarding the reval. We also sent letters to all property owners, and we're going to be scheduling very shortly meetings in each quadrant of the town.
When you say shortly, like what's the timeline you think?
I would have to check. It's going to be soon. Right. We're going to set up meetings in each quadrant of the town to provide residents with information on the reval.
Is that in their agreement as far as how many meetings they're supposed to provide the residents?
They will do as many meetings as we want.
Okay, good.
In the past, it was the first meeting was well attended. Then the other meetings, it was
right. I know it trickled down, and that's our intention. We want to try to educate as much as possible. Right now, there's a lot of residents that don't know: are they supposed to let them in? Do they have to let them in? What does this mean? It's coupled with the inspections that's going on with the Bergen County Utility Authority. So there's a lot of people knocking on doors. So that's what I meant about that. And then we had an election, so other people were knocking on doors. So there's just a lot of I guess. uncertainty as far as how to proceed with the appraisal system.
End of report.
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?